Good morning, my name is Victoria, and you are watching Precious Flex Entertainment TV.
Good morning. My name is Paul. It's October 31st, 2023, and here is the news update. Europe's most charismatic royal? Spain grouped by Leonor Mania as princess turns 18. Among the next generation of young European royals, Spain's Princess Leonor has seen her popularity soar as she turns 18. In a gesture that went viral, Spain's Princess Leonor broke protocol on the 12th of October. At the celebration of Spain's National Day, the princess was surprised by her classmates from the military academy she had just graduated from. As the cameras rolled, one of the cadets said to the princess, "How beautiful you look, Bourbon," a compliment that brought laughter from King Felipe and Queen Letizia and a smile of complicity from Leonor. In that natural and human moment, she could have been any teenager, but Leonor de Bourbon has rarely been seen to break protocol. From that point on, the whole of Spain has been paying more attention to the every move of a princess destined to become the first queen of Spain in the modern era. On her 18th birthday on Tuesday, when she will swear allegiance to the Constitution, her popularity has soared, and Spain is grouped with Leonor Mania. But the surge in her popularity has some people asking whether the princess is simply blessed with natural charm, or whether her behavior is all part of a plan to create the perfect queen. Is there such a thing as Leonor Mania? With her innocent face, blue eyes and permanent smile, Princess Leonor has managed to win over the Spanish people. She has even succeeded in renewing the image of the royal house and silencing some of the voices critical of the actions of her controversial grandfather, former King Juan Carlos. The retired king's elephant hunting expedition, his secret stash of cash in Switzerland, and the harassment lawsuit filed by his former lover Corinna Larson caused his popularity to plummet, dragging the crown down with it. However, Leonor has been able to reconcile the Spanish with the crown. While it's difficult to know the level of support for the princess, as the Spanish Sociological Research Center hasn't asked about the royal family since 2015, there are other private barometers that take an interest in the question. The latest of these, published this week in El Español newspaper, ranks the young princess as the most popular member of the royal family, surpassing even her father Felipe VI, the current king of Spain. Many Spaniards are succumbing to Leonor Mania, and some experts suggest that her success is due to the fact that she has been out of the limelight for so many years. The lack of knowledge about Leonor means that now everyone wants to know who she is. The royal family have got their timing right. While she was studying, the princess was very reserved in her appearances. Fernando Rayan, journalist and professor of political information at the San Pablo University, told Euronews. However, after the military academy and about to turn 18, a new Leonor has appeared, more mature and dressed as a soldier. A rather striking image, he adds. For the expert, the excitement surrounding Leonor is not an opinion, but a fact. The charisma she possesses, combined with her discretion, her prudence and an organization that leads her to prepare and outline in a notebook the events in which she participates, have made normality the quality that most defines her. This allows the Spanish people to identify with her.
Wow. Thank you, Paul. The princess has indeed renewed the image of the royal family. Energy crisis. Who has the priciest electricity and gas in Europe? The pre-tax prices of electricity and natural gas soared after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but they are now on the decline. Although slightly higher than the second half of 2022, the final prices for customers, including taxes, reached their peak in the first half of 2023. Electricity and gas costs, which experienced a sharp increase after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, are now steadying in Europe, after peaking in the first half of 2023. While pre-tax prices are decreasing, some countries have already frozen the support measures they offered households, resulting in higher consumer prices. The EU appears to be more ready for winter this year now that it has largely replaced Russian energy, but it's worth noting that there is disparity between electricity and natural gas prices among individual countries both within and outside the bloc. Which countries have the highest and lowest prices in Europe, and by how much have electricity and natural gas prices increased since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine started in February 2022? Gas prices keep climbing in Europe after Israel-Hamas war pushes Gazprom to increase gas supplies to Hungary in the first half of 2023. Average household electricity prices including all taxes in the EU rose from €25.30 per 100 kilowatts per hour to €28.90 per 100 kilowatts per hour, compared with the same period in 2022. Average natural gas prices also climbed from €8.60 per 100 kilowatts per hour to €11.90 per 100 kilowatts per hour in the same period. These are the highest prices recorded by Eurostat, the EU's official statistical office. Looking at the percentage changes year over year, the electricity prices in the EU increased by 14.5% in the first half of 2023, and gas prices rose by 37.9%. These figures are lower than the second half of 2022, when the percentage changes year over year reached their peak. The figures suggest that electricity and gas prices are stabilizing in the EU, according to Eurostat, even though the final consumer prices with taxes are slightly higher than in the second half of 2022. Pre-tax prices on electricity and natural gas are decreasing, yet countries are partly withdrawing their energy price support measures, explaining the increase. In the first half of 2023, electricity prices including taxes for household consumers in the European Economic Area (EEA) ranged from €11.40 per 100 kilowatts per hour in Bulgaria to €47.50 per 100 kilowatts per hour in the Netherlands. The Netherlands was followed by Belgium, €43.50, Romania, €42, and Germany, €41.30. Electricity prices were higher in 9 EU member states than the EU average. As France has the highest share of nuclear in its electricity mix, 68.9% in 2021, in the EU, its electricity prices were significantly below the EU average, with €23.20 per 100 kilowatts per hour in the first half of 2023. This was not the case for Belgium, where the share of nuclear in its electricity production was 50.6%. Belgium came in second on the most expensive electricity price list. Backstage at the Metropolitan Champion tells the tragic tale of EU candidate countries had the cheapest electricity when the EU's candidate countries are also included. Turkey recorded the cheapest electricity prices with €8.40 per 100 kilowatts per hour. The 6 countries at the bottom were all EU candidates, with prices fluctuating little between them. The average household gas prices in the first half of 2023 were lowest in Hungary, €3.40 per 100 kilowatts per hour, Croatia, €4.10, and Slovakia, €5.70, and highest in the Netherlands, €24.80, Sweden, €21.90, and Denmark, €16.60. The EU average was €11.90. Gas prices were higher in 8 EU member states than the EU average, suggesting households in these countries paid substantially more. Gas prices were lowest in Turkey, €2.50, when EU candidate countries are included. Contrary to electricity prices, the candidates didn't have the cheapest gas prices, as shown by the likes of North Macedonia, €10.40, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, €5.90. In the first half of 2023, the Netherlands had the most expensive electricity and gas prices in the EU. Electricity and gas prices rose in almost all EU countries. Household electricity prices increased in 22 EU countries in the first half of 2023 compared with the first half of 2022, according to the Eurostat data, and gas prices climbed in 20 out of the 24 EU members. Why did Dutch electricity prices skyrocket by almost 1,000%? The Netherlands recorded the largest increase year over year in electricity prices by a country mile, at 953%. According to Eurostat, this extraordinary rise is related to several factors. Not only were tax relief measures from 2022 discontinued in 2023, but at the same time, household electricity taxes doubled. However, the government is due to incorporate a price cap which will lower prices at all levels quite significantly in 2023. The Netherlands was followed by Lithuania 88%, Romania 77%, and Latvia 74%. On the flip side, electricity prices fell in 5 EU member states, with Spain recording a significant decrease of 41%, followed by Denmark at 16%. A missile can come at any moment. Ukrainian businesses defy uncertainty despite looming threats. European gas prices soar after Egypt reports zero imports. Israel-Hamas war. How the financial markets see the outcome of the crisis. Gas prices climbed more than 100% in some countries. Natural gas prices rose substantially in several countries across Europe, climbing more than 100% in Latvia, Romania and Austria. They were followed by the Netherlands, 100%, Turkey, 92%, and Ireland, 73%. EU countries Italy, Estonia and Croatia saw decreases less than 1%. North Macedonia, an EU candidate, showed the largest fall overall by 14%. All these changes are based on national currencies. EU energy imports from Russia dramatically fell. Eurostat has recorded a dramatic shift in the amount of energy the EU has imported from Russia since it launched its war against Ukraine. A huge growth in renewables, as well as gas from Norway and the US, has helped to make up for the dramatic drop in Russian energy. The most striking change can be seen in natural gas. EU natural gas imports from Russia made up almost 50% of the total before the war. This decreased significantly in 2022, down to 12% in October. It remains to be seen whether the recent outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war will have a similar, lasting effect on European energy supplies and prices. Energy crisis behind us. Energy crisis in Europe. Which countries have the cheapest and most expensive electricity and gas? How are EU households and businesses coping with the energy crisis? Electricity, natural gas, energy, Russia-Ukraine invasion, inflation.
Russian mercenary group recruits women to fight in Ukraine, UK mod. Women have rarely taken frontline fighting roles within the Ukraine war until now. A Russian mercenary group is attempting to recruit women for combat roles in Ukraine, according to the UK Ministry of Defence, MOD. In its daily intelligence briefing for Monday, the MOD said that Redut, a state-backed private military company, is appealing for women to work as snipers and drone operators in its Boars battalion. Redut, formerly known as SHIELD, has links to the GRU, Russia's foreign intelligence agency. It is part of a group of mercenary forces that protect commercial operations of Russian companies, and has been deployed in Ukraine since the start of the full-scale invasion in 2022. Composed of former Russian special forces and members of the Wagner mercenary group, Redut was reportedly involved in the plot to assassinate Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the early days of the war. The UK MOD cited Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu saying 1,100 women were currently deployed in Ukraine, serving mostly in medical support and food service roles. That number is equivalent to 0.3% of Russia's military force, it estimated. The UK MOD said it was unclear whether the wider Russian defense forces would follow suit and bring more women into combat roles. Russian forces have likely sustained heavy losses over 20 months of grinding warfare in Ukraine, and may now be seeking more ways to bolster troop numbers. Throughout history, women have played diverse roles in times of war, often making significant contributions to war efforts, despite facing societal and cultural barriers. Women have so far taken few frontline combat roles in Ukraine, though there is a strong tradition of female snipers and other combat troops serving in Soviet forces during the Second World War, says the UK MOZ. In Russia's initial Kiev offensive at the start of the war, Redut sustained heavy losses of up to 90% of its fighting force, according to Insider. The remainder were offered contracts with Russia's conventional army, allowing the Russian MOD to effectively rebuild and control the force.
Europe's chaotic response to the Israel-Hamas war reveals how weak it is, to its enemies' delight. The outbreak of the worst violence in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for decades, triggered by Hamas' horrific attack on the 7th of October and Israel's disproportionate military response, marks a turning point in the unraveling of Europe's role in the world. Only a few months ago, the story was one of Europe, slowly but surely, acting as one. After Russia invaded Ukraine, Ukrainian courage and U.S. military support enabled Ukraine to stand. Washington's assistance far outstripped what Europeans collectively could muster. But as the war dragged on, European governments rose to the challenge, and political unity in support of Ukraine has held despite setbacks, notably those created by Viktor Orban's Hungary. 11 packages of sanctions on Russia, the hosting of millions of Ukrainian refugees, the victory over Moscow's attempt to weaponize Europe's energy dependence, and the sustained increase in military and economic assistance have been pillars of a concerted strategy. The EU decisively reopened discussions on new members joining, recognizing that after the invasion of Ukraine, enlargement is a strategic imperative. Meanwhile, the transatlantic relationship is in a good place. We would need to rewind to the 1990s to find a time in which the bond was as strong. More broadly, Europe has pursued its energy transition through agreement on its Green Deal, bolstered economic and technological security to chart its way amid the growing U.S.-China rivalry, and sought ways to engage countries in the global south. This has been done via diplomatic outreach and a new momentum behind the €300 billion Global Gateway initiative, which is designed to boost green growth and infrastructure. The explicit link drawn between the Global Gateway and the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor (IMEC), launched at the G20 summit in Delhi in September, reflected how Europe had to refashion its policies to make them more appealing to the global south. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, came to office in 2019 declaring that she wanted to lead a geopolitical commission. Most of us took that to mean an EU equipped to navigate, on behalf of its 450 million citizens, a world of dangerously growing geopolitical rivalries. And until a few months ago, a geopolitical Europe seemed to be in the offing. That is when it all started to go wrong. In Western Africa, Europe, represented essentially by France, too burdened by colonial baggage to succeed in its 10-year military operation to root out jihadist forces, has been booted out. A string of military coups, coupled with a breakdown of governance, the devastating effects of the climate crisis, food insecurity and a surge in outward migration, all point to a massive European policy failure. What Brussels calls its integrated approach, whereby enhanced security for Western-friendly African governments would be combined with development aid and democratic reforms, is moribund. EU leaders redirected their gaze to North Africa, with a Total Cash for Migrants deal signed in July of this year, pushed by the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, to in effect buy Tunisia's services as a gatekeeper, stopping migrants from crossing the Mediterranean. As might have been predicted, the Tunisian dictator, Kais Saied, later reneged on the deal, wanting his cash with zero strings attached. This short-sighted policy now lies in tatters. Instead, the EU hides its lack of vision behind African organizations. After the coup in Niger in August, it was the member governments of ECOWAS that delivered an ultimatum to the ringleaders to restore democracy. Europe was left mouthing that it had all along preached African solutions to African problems. Appealing as the slogan sounds, it conceals only that Europe is clueless about what to do. In the Western Balkans, the situation is not, yet, so dire, but despite the revival of the prospect of EU membership for candidate countries, violence has flared between Serbia and Kosovo. Again, the EU has been helpless in stopping it, let alone able to cajole a diplomatic agreement between Belgrade and Pristina. Far worse is the situation in the Caucasus. To be fair, EU failings are not from lack of effort. The President of the European Council, Charles Michel, should be credited for mediating an agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan after the 2020 war. But this ultimately collapsed as the conflict turned violent through Azerbaijan's siege on Karabakh, followed by its military takeover and the ethnic cleansing of almost all the 120,000 Armenians from the enclave. And we still cannot say it's over, with Azerbaijan, backed by Turkey and implicitly by Russia, claiming a corridor through sovereign Armenian territory to connect it to its exclave of Nakhchivan, which it could try to seize by military force. The full extent of the unraveling of the geopolitical Europe ambition has been clear since the renewed outbreak of war in the Middle East. Europe, like the US and the Gulf monarchies, had implicitly bought into the cynical Israeli narrative that a resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could be bypassed. Israel's overwhelming force and subjugation of the Palestinians, alongside the elimination of the Palestinian question from the regional equation through the normalization of Israel's ties with the Arab world, were part of a strategy. This implicitly accepted that stability in the Middle East was possible without a resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The policy was first endorsed by Donald Trump with his 2020 Abraham Accords, between Israel on the one hand and the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan and Morocco on the other. The same approach has been pursued under Joe Biden. A normalization agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia would have represented its crowning achievement. Europe, however, fell into its traditional role in the Middle East, playing second fiddle to the US. The AMEC initiative, featured precisely Israel, the UAE and Saudi Arabia, alongside India and the EU, is further evidence of this. Bypassing the Palestinian question at least meant the EU could dodge the problem that its own hard-fought internal consensus on the conflict, a two-stage solution based on 1967 borders, had been coming adrift. Those EU governments that unconditionally sided with Israel had started passively following Benjamin Netanyahu's government's undermining and rejection of the two-stage solution. The tragic events in the region since the 7th of October have brutally exposed Europe's contradictions. There has been a baffling cacophony of voices, from EU aid for the Palestinians being suspended and then restored, to ambiguous messaging on the need for Israel to defend itself within the limits of international humanitarian law. Whereas some European leaders, such as Michel or the EU's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, have been clear in their messaging on Israel's legal obligations, others including von der Leyen have been highly ambiguous, causing friction within European institutions and beyond. Semantically, the differences may seem marginal. Politically, they amount to the difference between approaching a fire with a water hose and a gas canister.
Thousands set for Europe's biggest Halloween party. More than 30,000 people are expected in Londonderry as the city's annual Halloween festival draws to a close on Tuesday. The four-day festival got underway on Saturday and culminates in the annual Halloween parade and fireworks finale. Organizers say the festival is the largest Halloween event in Europe. The popularity of this event spreads right across these islands, right across the world, Aideen McCarter of the council said. She added, "We are back to pre-COVID numbers. We are expecting big numbers. We are looking forward to everyone having a great Halloween, a really safe one, too. It's an exciting few days, no doubt this year will be bigger and better than ever," Ms. McCarter said, as well as the closing parade, which involves hundreds of local school children and members of community groups from across the region, and fireworks. About 100 drones will take part in a display above the River Foyle. The festivities in Derry have grown to global renown since the first official Halloween celebrations in 1986, and it is now regarded as among the world's premier destinations for Halloween. It's the biggest night of the year in the city and brings in thousands of people, the vast majority of both young and old are in costume and fancy dress. The council is anticipating that over the 4 days of the event, more than 130,000 people will have come to the city. Mario Mars, who runs his own psychic academy, is among the international visitors to Derry for the festival. He's from Salem, Massachusetts, a place where Halloween is also celebrated on a grand scale. "My wife has family from Derry, which is part of the reason for the trip, and we love the city," he said. "Obviously we have our own celebrations in Salem, where we have the Haunted Happenings Parade, which draws pretty big crowds, but this is the biggest festival in Europe, and we are so looking forward to it."
Content creator might find this interesting. Facebook and Instagram to offer subscription for no ads in Europe. Takeaways Meta will offer people in the EU, EA and Switzerland the choice to pay a monthly subscription to use Facebook and Instagram without any ads. they can alternatively continue to use these services for free while seeing ads that are relevant to them. We believe in a free, ad-supported internet, and will continue to offer people free access to our personalized products and services regardless of income. Whether people choose to use our products for free with ads or subscribe to stop seeing ads, we are committed to keeping people's information private and secure, under our own policies as well as the EU's General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). To comply with evolving European regulations, we are introducing a new subscription option in the EU, EEA and Switzerland. In November, we will be offering people who use Facebook or Instagram and reside in these regions the choice to continue using these personalized services for free with ads, or subscribe to stop seeing ads. While people are subscribed, their information will not be used for ads. People in these countries will be able to subscribe for a fee to use our products without ads. Depending on where you purchase, it will cost €9.99/month on the web or €12.99/month on iOS and Android. Regardless of where you purchase, the subscription will apply to all linked Facebook and Instagram accounts in a user's accounts center. As is the case for many online subscriptions, the iOS and Android pricing take into account the fees that Apple and Google charge through respective purchasing policies. Until March 1, 2024, the initial subscription covers all linked accounts in a user's accounts center. However, beginning March 1, 2024, an additional fee of €6/month on the web and €8/month on iOS and Android will apply for each additional account listed in the user's account center. Why are we doing this? We believe in an ad-supported internet, which gives people access to personalized products and services regardless of their economic status. It also allows small businesses to reach potential customers, grow their business and create new markets, driving growth in the European economy. And like other companies, we'll continue to advocate for an ad-supported internet, even with our new subscription offering in the EU, EEA and Switzerland. But we respect the spirit and purpose of these evolving European regulations, and are committed to complying with them. We announced in August our intention to move people in the EU, EEA and Switzerland to the GDPR legal basis of consent for the purpose of processing data collected on our own platforms for advertising purposes. We made that change to address a number of evolving and emerging regulatory requirements in the region. This includes how our lead data protection regulator in the EU, the Irish Data Protection Commission, is interpreting GDPR following a recent ruling by the Court of Justice of the European Union, JEU, and anticipating the entry into force of the Digital Markets Act, DMA. The option for people to purchase a subscription for no ads balances the requirements of European regulators while giving users choice and allowing Meta to continue serving all people in the EU, EEA and Switzerland. In its ruling, the JEU expressly recognized that a subscription model, like the one we are announcing, is a valid form of consent for an ads-funded service. If you choose to continue to use our products for free, your experience will stay the same, and that experience will continue to be supported by the tools and settings that we have created to empower people to control their ads experience. These include ad preferences, which offers a range of controls that enable you to influence the ads you see as well as the data used to inform these ads, including activity information from ad partners. We also have tools in our product that explain why am I seeing this ad, as well as how people can manage their ad experience. Meanwhile, advertisers will be able to continue running personalized advertising campaigns in Europe to reach those who choose to continue to receive a free, ad-supported online service. Going forward, we will continue to invest to build new tools that preserve the value that both people and businesses get out of personalized advertising, while allowing users to control their ads experience on our platforms. The subscription for no ads will be available for people aged 18 and up, and we are continuing to explore how to provide teens with a useful and responsible ad experience given this evolving regulatory landscape. This new subscription model has been factored into our most recently announced business outlook and guidance. This post contains forward-looking statements, including about Meta's business outlook and the evolving regulatory landscape. You should not rely on these statements as predictions of future events. Additional information regarding potential risks and uncertainties about our business and financial results can be found in our most recent Form 10-Q. Meta undertakes no obligation to update these statements as a result of new information or future events.
And that will be all for today. We will see you again tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. Please like and share. Follow us for more updates.